Now, some people will break up and feel a sense of regret. So when the narcissistic person hoovers them back in, they're vulnerable to it. And so it's a complex landscape, even if people leave. In the grand scheme of things, Doug, if someone could leave and be narcissist free or get rid of this person and really do the work of themselves, they will feel better. But people can heal while they're in these relationships. I've seen it happen. It happens all the time. I always say it's like you're still walking, but now there's a bit of a slope on the walk, but it can be done.
It's not the same, but there's similarities between this type of relationship dynamic and then being in a relationship with somebody who's an addict, right? Where you have to gain this radical acceptance. Like you said, you have to take care of yourself. You can't let the relationship destroy you. You can't create this, false idea of what the relationship could be. Like you have to accept it for what it is. And if things get better, awesome. But if not, like you have to accept like it's not your fault. And I've seen people completely self-sabotage in when they're in relationships with somebody who's an addict, and it ends up impacting their own mental health, their own life. And the same thing I would imagine happens in a narcissistic relationship, and probably I would imagine it's more severe. How can somebody prevent that? Like if they've gained radical acceptance of the situation, what are some things that they should be doing on a daily basis, weekly basis? Again, I know you're not about like this one size fits all approach, but generally speaking, what can people do to make sure that they're not sacrificing their mental health?
So once a person hits radical acceptance, and listen, not everyone has access to therapy, but if you do, be in it, and ideally with a therapist who gets this stuff. Because just simply having that validating space with somebody who's a trained ear can make a huge difference. And you also want to be shoring up your other social supports. Something that makes us very gaslightable is if in all the relationships we're in, our reality is being denied or twisted, and we're being told there's something wrong. It's all our relationships are destabilizing. That makes it tricky. But if you have validating spaces in your life, for example, a strong friendship network or trusted colleagues, just continuing to cultivate that because the narcissistic relationship is like a black hole. It sucks all of you into it, all your resource, all your bandwidth, all your thoughts, feelings, everything. If you can radical acceptance means thinking I'm no longer bringing my A game to this relationship, right? I'm going to have to cultivate these other spaces in my life because these people see me, I see them. It's a mutual and reciprocal relationship. You get to experience that two-way road that is a relationship. Again, like I said, being in therapy is also a big one. The other thing is practicing realistic expectations. Radical acceptance and realistic expectations sort of go together hand in hand in the sense that the radical acceptance sort of navigates the realistic expectations where it's sort of things like the person who is about to have their birthday and things, they know that the narcissistic person, it's hit or miss if they're going to celebrate it right. If this matters to you that much, set something up with your friends. It could be a lunch, it could be a dinner. Like you need to do you. I say to people, I'm never going to be able to take away the hurt while you're in this relationship, but I would like to take away the surprise. And I have clients who week over week will say, "You're not going to believe what he did," and I look at them, I'm like, I absolutely believe what he did. This I would have set a clock that this is what he would have done. And we'll even play a game because they'll say, I'm going to be doing this and this when I see my mother or narcissistic mother, narcissistic partner. I say, here's how it's going to go down. I'll make a bet with you. I won't bet stuff like a coffee or like Starbucks or something. I'll say, I'm right. You buy me Starbucks. I'm wrong. I buy it for you. I got nothing but Starbucks gift cards in my house because I am always right about this. And it's not that I'm some kind of damn genius. And I want to lift the surprise. But the more we play that game, they're like, I saw it and I didn't react to it this time. Because the surprise leaves you feeling worn down and let down. You're like, I can't believe he did it versus it's more of like, here we go. That's a very different nervous system stance. Another other thing is also to learn your nervous system. We might be fighters, we might be flighters, we might be freezers, we might be submitters, we might be fawners. Know your sort of nervous system repertoire. How do you respond to those threats? Because those often predominate. Some people feel shame, like, why didn't I say something? Their freeze response kicked in. And it's learning that self compassion of you were trying to keep yourself safe in what felt like a threat. It is about bringing self compassion to yourself. But doing these things sort of all together, engaging differently. You might say, well, that's not a relationship anymore. I don't disagree, but some people don't have a choice. But now it clears out a space for them to at least not be pummeled all the time psychologically.
I imagine like one of the other challenges of staying in a relationship with a narcissist is dealing with conflict. And like you can do the nervous system work, you can talk to a therapist, and that all I'm sure helps tremendously. But how does somebody deal with like conflict when you're saying like a big part of how the relationships erupt with a narcissist is how the narcissist responds to stress and turmoil in their life? What advice do you have there?
It's a tough one, right? Because you're never gonna be able to have any reasonable conflict with them, right? There's no such thing as having an argument with a narcissistic person. You're either going to be gaslighted, you're going to be overwhelmed, you're going to be bulldozed, or you're going to be left. That's the entire vocabulary of conflict. So it is really about a disengagement. As they go on and on. It's almost like there's a concept I have in my new book. I call it soul distancing. So while they're yammering on, you're almost like envisioning like, okay, my body is present, my soul is over here, I got it protected. I'm not engaging with this. And they're going to yell and scream and yell and scream. Listen, different people's nervous systems can put up with this in different ways. But there's no when a person's gaslighting you, the best you can say is like, listen, we're having different experiences here. I mean, that's all I got. It's going to make them more frothed up, but that's much better than you doubting yourself. Just you are having a different experience. I thought you remembered it this way. I remembered it that way. That's it. That's a different experience. And so there are phrases you can have that can help sort of at least on your side put your punctuation mark on it. They're not going to let it go though. They're fighters. They're built for the fight. And if you're not a fighter, this is a really, really bumpy road. The other thing, though, is they don't just fight. The other thing narcissistic people do is they withhold and they withdraw. And for people who have abandonment fears, that can be really, really hard when this silent treatment is a very, very common tactic in narcissistic relationships.
I would love to know like your definition of gaslighting because I think much like narcissism, gaslighting is used often, right? It's like you're gaslighting me and it's like no, I'm just holding you accountable, you know? So what is the true definition of gaslighting? How does somebody know that they're being quote unquote gaslit?
Right. So gaslighted is a tactic, okay? And it's a tactic that's used to maintain power, dominance, and control in a relationship by destabilizing the other person.